Alright. I'm in quite a hurry. So that isn't where I wanted that to go. So I'm just going to be looking to get this done as quickly as possible. So this is my good arsenal here. And I didn't put that one, that one, that one, that one. That one, that one. That one. And I guess this for the healing stuff. Yeah. If I get this done as I would like to. Cool. This is probably going to be the last Ratchet & Clank video I will make for quite some time. And I wonder if to the 3 viewers that this series probably may have had, I wonder if it will have looked quite confusing, considering that, you know, I recorded the first batch of episodes over a space of a couple months, February to March, but then, you know, it's now June. But they will have all gone up at around the same time, as if I've recorded all of them at the same time. And of course I will have made no mention of the fact that I'm recording these late in the first videos, because when I recorded them I was under the assumption that I was gonna upload them much sooner than this. So it's an interesting idea. So what am I doing here? The only real thing I'm looking to do in challenge mode is to get the Rhino 3 and... Nice. First of all, get these 3 weapons to V5. Get the Rhino 3 and then the Inferno armor thing. I can remember when I was like 8 or something like that, probably younger still. I got to challenge mode. Don't know how, because I was terrible at video games at the time, and not much better today. I saw the Inferno armor. I bought it thinking that it was gonna be like the Inferno crate, but all the time. And at the time I thought it was cool, the Inferno crate. Of course now I know that it's actually terrible, but I was very, very disappointed when I found out that it was just a regular armor, but of course really strong. So, yes.
What's the situation?
Cool. I've been thinking what game I could play after this. Kinda wanna do Crash Bandicoot. Possibly with a kind of in-between game, and I'll do the 3 Crash Bandicoots, which I'll be trying to get 100%, which of course I haven't done with this game. And then, you know, possibly with a little, like, another in-between game after I'm done with Crash Bandicoot. I can't fucking remember what I said like 20 seconds ago. Like, okay, here's what I want to do. I want to finish this, then get an in-between game, like I get one of the Souls games, something like that, although that would be quite long. Maybe Ico. I have the Ico and Shadow of the Colossus HD collection. And then I want to do the 3 Crash Bandicoots, and then another in-between game, which could be another Souls game, so it could be like Demon Souls and then Dark Souls, or it could be Shadow of the Colossus. And after that, I would like to do the Jack and Daxter games, which would be quite interesting considering that even though I know how all 3 games end, I've only actually completed, to the best of my knowledge, the 3rd in the series. So, it could be quite a fun little thing to do. And yeah, like I could play whatever the fuck I want, really. I mean, as long as I own the game. Thinking about doing Dungeons of Dreadmore runs. I've of course been uploading the odd little Spelunky video, but completely, you know, no actual thoughts in my mind about making it like a serious thing. Just throwing it up on YouTube. Anyway, you know, I've been a little bit nervous because, first of all, there's no snooker on TV. It's gonna start up again in on Friday, and then pretty much it's gonna be pretty consistent live footage from then on. Because if it's quite a busy game is snooker, most players are constantly touring, constantly playing in various different venues. You only get a couple days off, and then you know there's a new tournament. And you know that's not letting me kind of cool off. Not having snooker on the air is been a little bit tricky. Here's the mega versions. Of course, you can get fucked if you think. Okay, you can get fucked if you think I'm going to do any of that. 2.7 goddamn million bolts. All right. Whoa. I can't remember how the double crate thing works in challenge mode. I'm assuming it doubles the multiplier that you currently have, in which case I would like to kill as many enemies as possible. So far everything is dying in one hit. Yep. Okay, and if it does double, that's good. If not, I got myself a ×8 multiplier, so still not gonna be that much. I always wondered if the amount of bolts you get in challenge mode is exclusively, yeah, it does double, okay, is exclusively as a result of the multiplier thing, or if you actually get, or if there's just like a fixed increase in the number of bolts that you get. Don't know. I got 20,000 there, which would imply that I got a little over 1,000 in the original version of the game, the non-challenge mode, which seems to fit. Alright, so you're looking at 3.7 million is the total number of bolts, because the armor is 1 million, and then you know, the Rhino 3 is 2.7. But of course the challenges also give you lots more bolts, so if I can keep up a good state of multiplication, if you like, on the bolts, that would be excellent. Yeah, I'm what can I say? I'm just having a good time. But I was saying I was a little nervous. That is because, ooh, broke those crates all the way down there too. Yeah, that is because this Thursday I'm recording on Monday. Monday the 22nd of June is when I'm recording this. No, I'm not fucking recording this on Monday the 22nd. Thursday is the 22nd. It's what I'm worried about. So as a result, today would be the 19th. No, it's the 20th because it's not actually Monday. It's Tuesday. Okay. I've lost the plot a little bit, so to speak. I slept way too much today. It's kind of thrown me off because this day has felt so short, which is why I decided I wanted to do something productive at the end of it. I say productive. Playing video games isn't really productive, but I wanted to do something at the end of it to make it more than just a really, really short day. And the 22nd of June, I'm going to be taking the first of 2 entrance tests, because you know, I'm not really looking to get too personal, although I could. I haven't really done anything high school wise. I'm 17, turning 18 this October, but I've only attended the first year of high school for a couple months, so I'm about 4 years behind, you could say. 3-4 years, something like that, which is not nice. You know, you don't like being 3-4 years behind, at least I don't. So obviously I can't just stay at home and not do anything for the rest of ever. That would not be correct. So I'm doing a little thing that's organized by my region, province. They have different names in different parts of the world, but in Italy we call them regions. I'm in Toscana, however you want to call it. Which is effectively they have this program for people like me who, for one reason or another, have not done school in a traditional way, and they're usually centered around kind of more like a formation thing for jobs, more so than actual schooling, although I could do that. I could do regular schooling, which is what I want to do when I'm done with this, with evening classes. Anyway. And I went for 2 different courses, although obviously I can only do one. I signed up for the entrance exam for both of them. If I land both of them, I have a better chance of landing one, obviously. He hit me, so I don't have a multiplier anymore. Rip. Anyway. And it's one for... Hang on, let me go ahead and get the paper. Here we go. Con la presente si comunica che il giorno 22 giugno 2017 alle ore 9 l'allievo Tommasi Gabriele, iscritto al corso tecnico meccatronico delle autoriparazioni. So that was me saying, that was me reading off the paper, and it basically says, so we'd like to communicate that on the 22nd of June at 9 a.m. me signed up for the mechatronic technician of auto repairs. So in effect, effectively it is course that teaches you how to fix cars, and then there's also an electric operator, aka electrician. And yeah, gonna take the entrance exams for both of them. They don't really require you to know anything about the subject. They're just like just to see if you have general middle school knowledge, which I admittedly may not have. Anyway, let's go ahead and test the Rhino 3. And yeah, the first, which is for the mechanic, is on the 22nd of June. So, a couple days from now. And I'm a bit nervous about it. Wee bit fucking nervous about it. This is the Rhino 3, locks on to 6 different weapons. 8. And I have to say, as far as sheer coolness factor, this is probably the worst one of the series so far, although the V1 is very, very cool. It gets progressively less cool, in my opinion, as you level it up. So, yeah, pretty cool. As I say that, I say pretty cool, but obviously, you know, I say that and then immediately I'm like, well, that's actually the least cool of all of them. But anyway. Yeah. Wee bit nervous. And you can understand why I'd be nervous, of course. You know, never... I mean, I have done stuff like this before, but this is not the first time I've tried, you know, getting things back on track, and just doesn't really work out. It hasn't worked out in the past anyway, and yeah, I'm nervous. I'm nervous because I know that I have some issues to do with anxiety. Probably because I've been so sheltered for most of my life that I'm not really used to situations like that. Although we've been discussing with my psychologist that, you know, I've had these issues since before I stopped having a normal life routine, so there must be something else afoot. I just hope I do well. Obviously, I think for most of them they'll select which ones they want to accept and which ones they don't. They're projecting a class size of 15 students. I'm sure they'll mostly be interested in like the actual interview, more so than how well you do on the test. Although if you do very badly on the test, I'm sure, you know, they won't take you, and even if you impress them in the interview. And I feel pretty okay about the interview. I think I'll just, you know, I think most of the people that will be interviewing will be like, well, I don't really want to do this, but I need a job, you know. And for the mechanic stuff, they'll be like, I've always liked cars. They'll try to sell that element, and I'm sure they'll take plenty of students in who say those things in the interview, but I'm planning to tell them that I don't really want to do the job that I'll be learning for a living, that I would rather just do it so that I can get back to normal studies, get my diploma, do things that I'm more interested in, which I think will sell my act quite well. And it's not an act, actually, it's my case, if you like, because I do believe the things I'm saying. I'm not just putting on an act. And yeah, obviously I don't see myself as a manual laborer, not particularly anyway. It doesn't seem like the sort of thing I'd be good at. It doesn't seem like the sort of thing I would much like, although I do think woodworking would be very, very nice. I'd like to possibly get some work to do with that, although I see it as more of a hobby sort of thing. And one of the things I've always been interested in, or I say always, not always, but I've been interested in recently, is the idea of luthier work, if you like, using wood to build musical instruments. That seems very, very cool, and it's one thing that I think would be quite nice to try and do. I should have used this before stepping in here. Yeah, but apart from that, I don't really see myself as a manual labor kind of person. Not that there's anything wrong, of course, with manual jobs like being an electrician or a mechanic. You need those jobs for the world to go around. You know, if everyone was like, oh, I just want to be a particle physicist working at CERN, you know, that would be great and all that, but at the same time, you know, who'd be flipping the burgers? Who'd be fixing the cars? You know, we're all studying because we think we're too good for regular, you know, handy jobs, if you like, but at the end of the day, those jobs are jobs that we need people to do for us. If we can't do them ourselves, I certainly can't fix my car. I don't even have one, but if I had one, I wouldn't be able to fix one unless, of course, I do the mechanic thing. And so if I had a problem with my car, I need someone who is able to fix it. So, you know, you can say, oh, no, I'm not a manual labor kind of guy, but at the same time, you know, don't put people down who are manual laborers, because they're probably at the end of the day more useful than you, Mr. Particle Physicist at CERN. So yeah, that's yeah, I'm done with that. Got him. So am I gonna have enough ammo to do this? I don't really want to use any other weapon. Ooh, don't think I'll have enough ammo. I'll have 3 shots at this. Ooh, could just about be enough. Yes. Oh shit, there's one more round. Okay, so anyway, having said all that, I don't see myself as a manual labor kind of guy, so even though I may end up working as an electrician or something for a few years, that's not really what I want to do for the rest of my life, you know, unless I maybe try doing it and I'm like, oh yeah, this is actually really cool. You know, if that is the case, then obviously I'll be more than happy to do that for the rest of my life, as long as I make sure to balance it with other hobbies, because you don't really want to be stuck, you know, living for a job. Even if it's a job you really like, I think you usually want to have some other stuff going on in your life. Otherwise you're just gonna go absolutely crazy. And I don't really want to go crazy, you know. So that's the thing. And I think if there was some snooker on the air, I would probably not be as nervous or tense, because, you know, it's such a nice game to watch on TV, and it relaxes you, and you know, you get to root for your favorite players. As of late, I've been debating which player I'm most for. I've said in the past I'm not really for Ronnie O'Sullivan. Not that there's anything wrong with Ronnie, of course. He's well, when he wants to be, he's the best player in the world, and he's very nice to watch when he's on form. But I think what annoys me most about him would have to be his fan base. Really not a fan of Ronnie's fans, for lack of a better way to put it. Although I think that's a very good way to put it. Oh. I think his fans just annoy me because they seem to, whenever you watch them in matches and stuff like that, when it's say a Ronnie O'Sullivan versus Ding Junhui match, for instance, like the one in 2007 at the Masters. Although with the World Championship this year, I noticed that there was a lot more support for Ding compared to usual years. I think people are starting to warm up to him. He's been around for a long while, like 13 years, something like that, but shit. He's been around for quite a while, but you know, I noticed an extra level of support there that was nice to see. Anyway, whenever you watch them in matches like that, it seems like Ronnie's fans are like, they don't necessarily cheer for him, but they cheer like against his opponent or something. You see, like again in 2007 Masters, Ding, whenever he was missing shots, people were like, fuck yeah. So they were happy that he was doing badly, more so that they were happy that Ronnie was doing well, and he was doing very well, by the way. That was one of the best snooker performances of the decade, that one, in the Masters Final 2007. I would urge you to watch it if you haven't. It's very impressive. Although, if you're like me and you don't necessarily, you know, care for Ronnie too much, again, not against him, great guy. I mean, he seems like a bit of a dick at times, but great player to watch. You might find yourself feeling a little bit sorry for Ding, because, well, that was before he'd really developed a good match temperament, if you like. And so, since Ronnie was fucking just tearing into him, you could see at one point Ding had just given up on the match. And not gonna lie, when I saw Ding beat Ronnie for the first time in 10 years, it was this year, 2017 World Snooker Championship. I really felt good, felt for him in a good way, and I was like, you know, I want to root for this guy to win the World Championship. Of course, he didn't win the World Championship this year, Ding, because Mark Selby is the best player in the world at the moment, and he lost against Mark Selby. And because Mark Selby is the best player in the world, as you could expect, and yeah, so Mark Selby won again, defended his world title. Only the 4th person, I think, to have ever done so. Steve Davis, in the Crucible era, of course. Joe Davis defended his title in like the fucking 1930s, but you have Steve Davis, Stephen Hendry, Ronnie O'Sullivan, and Mark Selby. So that's quite an elite group. Shows what a good player Mark Selby is. But yeah, I was for Ding this year. There's lots of players I'd like to see win matches, and in particular winning the World Championship. I think I would generally like to see a player win the World Championship who hasn't won it already, just because, you know, the first time win thing is always a nice story. It makes for kind of a little, not necessarily want to say underdog moment, because you know, if Ding was to win, it's not like he wouldn't be one of the favorites to win, but he just hasn't done it yet. So, same for Judd Trump. So I'd like to see a snooker player who hasn't won the World Championship yet to win it. Oh, that is so fucking good. Or a player who has only won it once to win it. Again, if it's not gonna be first time winner, someone like Sean Murphy, Neil Robertson. That would be nice to see. If we've got to have someone who's already won it to win it again. Although it wouldn't be my first choice. And I have nothing against Mark Selby winning it. Although, even though we're not only 2 events into the season, and both of them have been like non-ranking, like tiny little events, with the Riga Masters, which is coming up this Friday, being the first real big event this season. I'm already thinking that Mark Selby probably is going to win the World Championship again, unless something very, very weird happens, simply because he's just too good of a player. He's well, at times it's almost unplayable. So even though I'm expecting him to win it again for the 2018 World Snooker Championship, I would like another player to win, I think. Mark Allen, Barry Hawkins, Judd Trump, Ding, of course, being my number 1. Ali Carter would be nice. Or, of course, as I said, maybe someone who has already won it, but only once. So you generally want to root for the underdog in these sort of moments, but yeah, someone like Sean or Neil would be nice to see him win. I can't actually think who the last first time only. Actually, never mind. Yes, I can. Stuart Bingham in 2015 was the last player to have won the World Championship who has only won it once. And then after that, it's Neil Robertson. Yeah. Then it's Graham Dott in 2006, who most likely won't win a second one. I think he's getting a little old. And then it was... Now, what am I talking about? No, yeah, it was Graham Dott. And then it was Sean Murphy the year before. And then 2004, won it 2000. I think it was Ronnie who won it in 2004. And then 2003, I don't remember what I'm gonna say. It was Mark Williams, and 2002 was Peter Ebdon. So yeah, there's not too many players who have won the World Championship who have only won it once. I suppose, you know, if I'm looking at like dream scenarios and stuff like that, maybe even though it's next to impossible, I would like to see Jimmy White somehow find form and win it. He's well in his 50s now, so that's not happening. Especially because I don't really think he had the match temperament to win it to begin with. He definitely had the talent, but he just always broke down in big occasion. I mean, he's a 6-time runner-up. He's the only player who to be a runner-up that many times. He was like a runner-up against Stephen Hendry 4 times in a row, something like that. 3 or 4 times in a row. Which is a little bit sad, I have to say. And yeah, he's obviously a fan favorite, partially because of the fact that he's never won the World Championship. And like I said, you like to root for the underdog in these sort of situations. What color here makes me think of Crash Bandicoot? This. I'm gonna go for a Crash Bandicoot style ship. Here we go. This is just setting up the future encounters. Anyway, yeah, I don't think Jimmy ever really had it in him to win the World Championship. And people say, you know, he's like the people's champion. He's the one everyone always wants to win. But unfortunately for him, he hasn't really been able to do it. And I think it's a little bit too late to, you know, expect him to do it. But if he could do it, that would be, you know, amazing. That would be like, well, it would be like a movie script or something like that. So that would be, you know, the dream scenario that's never gonna happen. But realistically, if I was to say who I'd like to win it next year, maybe someone like Ding, Mark Allen, Judd Trump, that would be nice. Hello, prick. Nice. Now, the interesting thing is here we have a ×2 multiplier on this stage, so the question is it gonna go up to a ×40? It sure is. So, I think in this situation I'd be looking to break as many crates as I possibly could. Lucky I didn't get hit there, otherwise I would not have a multiplier anymore. Okay. Shit. Now, thinking about it, you would never you never count someone like Ronnie out, possibly winning it a 6th time, but I think he's starting to get a little bit old, is Ronnie. I mean, he's over 40, but he looks half that age. Well, not half that age, but he looks younger than 40 for sure, because he's probably one of the most physically fit people in snooker. Obviously, snooker not known for its great athletes, shall we say, but you know, you only have to look at people like Stuart Bingham and Sean Murphy. Don't get me wrong, awesome players, but they're not very physically fit, are they? You can just look at them. Stuart Bingham, Sean, not like Sean Lane, but like S-H-A-U-N Murphy. I think everyone knows how to spell that. Just Google a picture of him and you'll see he's not really very physically fit, easy, don't get me wrong. Stephen Maguire, another one. And then obviously the big one would have to be Stephen Lee, and then there's Big Bill Werbeniuk, if I pronounced that right. They're all quite well-built players, shall we say, and Oh, frick. Yeah, so it's not really a game that has a lot of physically fit players, although, no doubt, being physically fit helps in snooker. And the fact that Ronnie is over 40 and still has the potential to be the best player in the world, I think goes to show that that is indeed the case. When you look at someone like Stephen Hendry when he was 40, and he still is 40 actually. Well, he's not 40 exactly, but he's in his 40s. He really, really dropped in his form. Hell, even when he was 30, he wasn't playing as well. So, no, it's quite clear that Ronnie is a little bit of an outsider by being as good as he is for his age. Although, in the past, I want to say year or so, there have been a few hints that maybe he's starting to lose it a little bit. Just a little bit. I mean, you never lose it, really. You know, they say form is temporary, class is permanent. But he would just had a few little moments here and there where he just wasn't quite on it. The Masters 2017, one of the most dramatic tournaments for quite some years, but even though Ronnie won that, he really didn't play that well, especially when you consider how in 2014 at the Masters, not that long ago, you know, he beat Ricky Walden 6-0 and scored like 550 points without reply, which is a record. And yeah, in that match, you know, he played so well that it's hard to imagine who could have won against him. Yeah, it's hard to... Yeah, I couldn't think of one. I mean, maybe Stephen Hendry in his prime, like 1994, 1995, something like that, could have done it. But shit, dude, that was a fucking amazing performance by Ronnie in that match. And yeah, it's a little bit strange seeing what he can do in situations like that, to then see him miss very, very easy shots, as he sometimes do, as he sometimes does. But obviously, you know, if he does take his good form to a tournament, he has every chance of winning it. In fact, many would argue that he has the best chance of most players of winning it. I think, in my opinion, if you look at the players in top form, just in general throughout history, I think Neil Robertson probably is the best, or one of the best, when he's in his absolute top form. You know, I say that based on the fact that he's the only player to have compiled 100+ centuries in one season. He scored 103 in the 2013-2014 season, if I recall correctly. Which is a huge amount. I don't know all the records for that kind of stuff, but as far as I know, Judd Trump scored like around 76, something like that, 75 this season. Well, the last season technically, 2016-2017. But that's, you know, that's still quite a ways away from 103. And I say Ronnie has never done that, but of course there's a lot more tournaments now than there were in the 90s and early 2000s, mid 2000s, where really at any point when he played at his absolute best. Although that being said, I mentioned 2013-2014 season. That's also the same season where Ronnie did the unanswered points thing against Ricky Walden that I was talking about at the Masters. So clearly he was in form at the same time as Neil Robertson. Was Ronnie, but you know, Neil scored 100 centuries that season, Ronnie did not. So it gives the impression that possibly when Neil Robertson is at his absolute best form, he he's hard to beat. Although, of course, people were thinking the same thing about Judd Trump this particular season, and in many ways they were probably quite right. I mean, the whole season Judd Trump played really, really well, though not as well as Mark Selby. You know, I think they both had. Well, they didn't have five. They didn't both have 5 finals. Before the World Championship, they both had 5 finals, but Judd Trump won 2 of them. Mark won 4 of them. And then, of course, Mark won the World Championship. So that's 5 tournaments won in one season, and then 6 finals overall, which is extremely, extremely good. So, you know, even though he showed impressive form, Judd Trump, clearly the form man of the season was actually Mark Selby. I think definitely when Mark is in his top form, he is probably the best in the world at the moment. And I say that only because it's been a little while, again, a couple of years since Ronnie really played in his top form. You can think of it like this. I mean, if you were to compare players like sports cars or something like that, Ronnie has the most gears of any other player, but he doesn't often get in top gear, right? Whereas Mark Selby may have 6 gears, Ronnie may have 8. But if Ronnie stays in 5th gear and Mark goes in 6th gear, you know who the winner is going to be, right? That's my terrible analogy, but yeah. But it'll be interesting. Of course, I'm talking about all the way as far as, you know, the next World Championship, but that is a huge way away. It's basically a year away, pretty much. The next major tournament is the Riga Masters, which again is going to start on Friday, and in that one, Neil Robertson is the defending champion. Defending champion, yeah. He had quite a quiet season, did Neil, but he won that one. That's cool. If you lock onto someone, all the bombs gravitate towards them. Is that how it works? Anyway, yeah, Neil had a fairly quiet season by his standards. Again, when you consider the fact that he's the only player to have scored 100 centuries in a season, it's quite crazy to think that he only won 1 title last season, and that was the Riga Masters. So he's coming into this one as the defending champion. I don't know why I'm speaking like this. Anyway, he suffered a little bit of a disappointment at the World Championship. Went out in the second round, even though he missed the China Open Championship to prepare for the World Championship. That clearly didn't work out. And I mean, he played well in his first match against Noppon Sankam, made his 500th career century. But then he lost to Marco Fu in the second round in a low quality match, it has to be said, but also a very, very dramatic one. It was probably like the best match seen, not for standard, but for tension, for drama. It was definitely the best one there. So he's probably going to be coming into this one, the Riga Masters. Okay, he's the defending champion, but he's going to be quite fresh, I would say. He missed one championship, had a very quiet, fairly quiet season overall, and then he went out fairly early in the World Championship. So, and not to mention the fact that in 2016 he had a first round exit. So maybe since it's been a couple of years since he showed his absolute top form, Neil Robertson, maybe he's going to be coming into this Riga Masters, even though he's the defending champion, he's going to be thinking, well, you know, I haven't really performed at my best. I've kind of, maybe he feels like he has a little bit of a point to prove. So, and we all know he really wants to win. You know, he's probably one of the most, one of the players who most desires winning on tour at the moment. I can only think of players like John Higgins, Stephen Hendry, although he's not on the tour, but historically they were the sort of players who just wanted to win at all costs. You know, it's one thing that John Higgins even said. Steve Davis loved snooker. Stephen Hendry loved to win. And Neil's a little bit like that. He just really, really wants it. You can see it when he's playing at his top form, and you can just see the focus on his face. Very, very few players have that kind of look in their eyes as often as Neil does. So I think he may be thinking that he has a little bit of a point to prove, and that he just really, really wants to show everyone that he's still capable of performing to the best of his ability. So I don't know, especially considering that it will have been several weeks, I don't know if he'll be thinking that you know, maybe he's been preparing really hard. I know he spoke before the World Championship about how his addiction to video games, in particular League of Legends, had distracted from his practice. But it may be the case that we could see Neil Robertson kind of coming back to his top form, or nearly, after a very, very quiet season. I don't know why I keep saying quiet season. It seems like the right term to use. Okay, it wasn't disappointing. I mean, he didn't have a terrible season. He won a ranking event, so, you know, he did well. But normally, by his standards, he's a sort of one of the few players who you would normally expect would win, you know, maybe 2 or 3 a season. Of course, Mark Selby, we expect him to win several as well, being the world #1, and by a long way the world #1 as well. He had over twice the career earnings as the world #2, which at the moment is John Higgins. I think John Higgins had like £600,000. Mark Selby had like 1.25 million or something like that. So he's certainly doing well for himself, and he's, you know, you just expect Mark to win several ranking events at this point with every season. Some people are disappointed by that. I'm not. I think he's a nice player. He's well, one of the nicest players as people. A lot of players on the tour seem a little bit arrogant or like dickish, if you like. But Mark, I don't think Mark's like that. I think Mark is just a very nice guy. He's very good at snooker. People don't like him because he's not super flamboyant like Ronnie. But I think he's got his own style, which is very nice. And people say he's not flamboyant. I mean, he had some amazing clearances, you know, this year at the World Championship. So I don't really see that argument making a lot of sense. Anyway, I think it would be very, very interesting, and I'm not saying I expect this to be the case, but I think there is a possibility that Neil Robertson will be coming into this new season really ready for another, like, I don't want to say another 100 centuries in one season, because that would, you know, that would imply a standard that is very, very hard to replicate. But I think he's definitely going to be looking to have another season like the one he had, just in terms of the quality of his play. That would be very interesting. I think he would be the player I'd be on the lookout for personally. Just 'cause I think, you know, a player like him, okay, he had one bad season, but there's no way that someone of Neil Robertson's ability, I mean, he's only like 35, he's still got a few years in him, and we look at players like Stuart Bingham, who won the World Championship when he was 38, I think, 39, something like that, you know, and that was the best performance of his life. So maybe Neil still has it in him to win many more ranking events at a high level. So he would be one of the players I'd be on the lookout for next season. Another one, without a doubt, Ding. I think he showed something great in this World Championship. One thing that everyone, well, not everyone, but if anyone has ever had doubts about Ding as a player, I think his temperament would have been the one thing that most people would have questioned, if anything. But I think, he lost in the semi-finals 17-15 to Mark Selby, but he held himself together under great pressure in a way that he didn't in the World Championship final in 2016, where he also played Mark Selby and lost 18-14. You know, in that match, he really pushed Mark to the top and forced the absolute best out of Mark. So I think he would be one of the players I'd be on the lookout for, because I think that performance, okay, he lost, but it may have given him the confidence to think, well, I can do this, you know, I can do this. And definitely, I think Ding's biggest issue throughout his career has been it's probably been a little bit of an insecure player, I would say. I think it seems like probably his #1 weakness. But you know, he showed that he can really perform, which is great. And I think that may possibly give him confidence that he could think, okay, you know, maybe I can win this World Championship. And of course, people were saying that he was going to win the World Championship as early as 2004. That was when he was around 16, just about. Maybe, no, wow. Yeah, he was around 16, maybe a couple months away from being 17 or something like that. And he was picked as a wild card round for the Masters of 2004, and yeah, I think he almost won against Stephen Lee, but he then lost that match from being 5-2 up. And as early as then, 2004, they were saying, oh, he's going to be a world championship, or he's going to be a world champion. Sorry, not a world championship. So in many ways, it's quite surprising that he hasn't won it already. Another player like that would be Stephen Maguire, who won the UK championship in 2004. After and beating Ronnie O'Sullivan, who at the time was at the absolute best, top of his form, after beating him in the very previous tournament. So obviously, at the time, people would have thought, oh, Stephen Maguire is going to be a world champion as well. But, you know, never really built on that promise. Even though when you see him play at his best, Stephen Maguire is very hard to beat. Yeah, I think in many ways it's quite surprising that Ding hasn't won the World Championship yet. I mean, he won the UK Championship in 2005. He was runner-up at the Masters in 2007, although he lost very badly against Ronnie O'Sullivan in that one. So, you know, he's it's taken him a while, I would say, to get to a situation where maybe he feels that he has enough confidence to say that he can win the World Championship, but he can definitely win it, you know. I don't think anyone has any doubts whatsoever that he's got the ability to win the World Championship. So Wow. Wow. Holy fucking shit. Anyway. It's a little interesting, a little bit interesting to think about. I mean, he was runner-up in 2011. Not runner-up, sorry. He lost in the semi-final 2011 to Judd Trump, who is another player who some would say probably should have won by now. And yeah, he's always shown great talent, great promise, Sting, but hasn't been able to build on it as he might have liked to. But I think he has a good shot at doing well. But then, you know, people were saying he had a good shot this year. And of course, he made it to the semi-finals, so clearly he did have a good shot at it. But you can never know. I would like him to win for sure. He's definitely one of the people who I would like to see win the World Championship the most. But you can never say for sure whether he's going to. I'm expecting, like I said, Mark Selby's probably just gonna be the man of the season this season as well. I think he's just found something in his game that's very, very hard to beat. Yeah, let's go. I need to get 2.7 million. I'm like 10% of the way there, dude. Can't believe it. Literally cannot believe it. Fucking hell. You know what? I'll divide this into two parts.